There's a predictable pattern in workplace accidents that shows up in the data year after year: spikes during holiday seasons and fiscal year ends. This isn't coincidence. This is what happens when production pressure overrides safety considerations. The causation patterns are clear when you analyze them. Companies have annual targets, sales goals, production quotas, financial metrics that need to be hit before the calendar flips. As deadlines approach, especially November and December, the pressure intensifies. Timelines get compressed. The work that should have been spread across the year gets crammed into a few weeks. And when speed becomes the priority, safety shortcuts start happening. Then you add in the seasonal labor factor. Many industries hire temporary workers for holiday surges, retail for shopping season, logistics for shipping increases, manufacturing for year-end production pushes. These workers are often inexperienced, inadequately trained, and unfamiliar with the specific hazards of their workplace. They're also frequently under economic pressure that makes them less likely to speak up about unsafe conditions. The injury statistics bear this out. Look at manufacturing, retail, and logistics sectors, and you'll see November-December accident increases year after year. These aren't random fluctuations. These are predictable outcomes of predictable pressures. What are the systemic solutions? Year-round production smoothing would eliminate the need for year-end crunches. Instead of scrambling to meet annual targets in the last few weeks, companies could plan production more evenly across the calendar. Adequate baseline staffing would eliminate the need for massive temporary hiring and mandatory overtime. And here's the critical one: maintaining safety standards regardless of deadlines. The deadline doesn't care if you're injured, and neither should management. For workers, knowing your legal rights during pressure periods becomes crucial. You have the right to refuse work that's genuinely unsafe. You have the right to adequate training before being assigned dangerous tasks. And you have the right to report safety violations without retaliation. Documentation becomes important. If you're seeing systematic safety shortcuts, documenting them creates a record that can support workers' compensation claims or regulatory complaints. Let me give you some case studies. There are well-documented major accidents that occurred during production pushes. Workers killed because maintenance was deferred to keep equipment running. Injuries that happened because new temporary workers weren't adequately trained. Accidents that occurred because people were working exhausted after weeks of mandatory overtime. In many of these cases, the connection to deadline pressure and cost-cutting is direct and provable. Where's the corporate accountability? Where's the regulatory enforcement? These are the questions that don't have satisfying answers. OSHA can issue fines, but often those fines are less than the profit generated by cutting corners. Regulatory agencies are often understaffed and can't inspect every workplace. And corporate decision-makers who prioritize deadlines over safety rarely face personal consequences when workers get hurt. The fundamental problem is a values conflict. Is meeting an arbitrary deadline more important than human safety? When companies act like the answer is yes, people get hurt. And until there are real consequences, financial and personal, for prioritizing production over protection, these predictable year-end accident spikes will continue.